T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. My life has value.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Global Watchman News. My name is Laurie Swan. Hope you guys are all doing well. If you are in the live chat, we do ask to keep it family friendly. There will be moderators in there to make sure that we stay within the terms of service put forth to us by the platform you're utilizing tonight. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Take a minute, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you know when we go live. So it's Wednesday night. Y'all know what that means. It means we've got our star-studded panel back with us. Starting off with my co-host, Ernie Beware. Hey, Ernie.
I am not a star. I refuse to be a star. How are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Back's getting better.
Good.
Praising and worshiping the Lord, and thankful for His Holy Spirit as we enter these trials and tribulations that are to come.
Absolutely. You took a little bit of time off. Got you're all rested up.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, it feels good when you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't. But when I say I take time off, I take time off. It's not always I do it.
Touche. I deserve that. I know. All right. And we're gonna welcome back to the panel, Big John. Hey, John.
It's your old pal back again one more time.
How you been?
I've been okay.
Good.
I've been busy.
Yeah. Busy's good.
It's good. I've been looking at, everything that's come out in the past few days about, the revealing. It seems like everything's a revelation now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everything is.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that the burst of truth being released over on TikTok is coinciding with Congress debating on whether they're going to ban it for all of us.
Oh, no doubt. The explosion of knowledge, like Paul the Apostle talked about, is I don't know if you meant TikTok, but that thing sure is letting it go.
Yeah, we don't know if Paul meant the ticker talker, but I don't know.
I will say this. TikTok is time, right? And he did say, redeem your time, for the days are continuously evil.
Ooh, that's deep. Wow, that's right. Yeah. We also got our welcoming back to the panel. We got Hero with us tonight. Hey, Hero.
How's it going, everybody?
How you been?
I'm doing good, actually.
Good.
Doing pretty good.
Yeah, I saw you, over on TikTok as well. Guys, if you're not following these guys, these three people over on TikTok, don't worry about me. I don't really put anything out there. I just use it for information. But the three of these people,
the best channels on TikTok, guys.
They are
the best channels on TikTok.
That's right. Speaking of TikTok queen, we are graced with the presence of Miss Hurricane Anne.
Hello.
Hello.
I was wondering why Ernie doesn't want to be a star. I like it.
No, yeah.
Nah, I work in the background. I work in silence.
Thank y'all for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Tonight's going to be a topic that, with the increase of knowledge in the last days, it just the one verse that just resonates with me all the time as I see things unfolding every day, when I put on the news, when I turn on TikTok, when I turn on YouTube, when I turn on Facebook, when I turn on Twitter is Matthew 24, where it says, Matthew 24:37, where it says, but as in the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Guys, we know the earth was so corrupted that God had to flood it just to make sure that his son could be born to save us. And I keep looking at things now, and today, and guys, don't take this the wrong way. If you're watching and you think that I'm throwing shade to a certain demographic of people, I'm not. But today is National Women's Day, and do you know that Jill Biden awarded it to a biological man?
It doesn't surprise me. I mean, you have to understand what we're living in right now.
America's Sodom and Gomorrah.
All inclusive.
Yeah. Sodom and Gomorrah, and just, if you guys, the story of Ernie, can you tell us the story of Sodom and Gomorrah? Because I don't think a lot of people realize. I mean, they know Sodom and Gomorrah they were corrupt, and they know that Lot's wife turned into a pillar of salt, but they don't understand the depravity that was going on in Sodom and Gomorrah. I don't think. The angels weren't even safe, right?
No. When you look at the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, it is a mirror image of what the days of Noah looked like. But I would say that this situation was on a more grander scale, and sometimes it's far more corrupted. Now, the stuff that you see experienced in today's world with the PQ, elemental, PQRS, TUV, that didn't just pop out of its own. This originated pretty much in the Sodom and Gomorrah days. Now, there was so much sodomy, there was so much homosexual intercourse, there was so much just sexual perversion. The spirit of Ishtar really reigned her head during that time. And God seen this land and seen it that it was not fair, and the land was corrupted, the people were corrupted. They did not have the spirit of God in them, but he found one person in the name of Lot who decided that he didn't want to be a part of this culture. He did not want to be a part of the quote unquote in thing, the he wasn't sipping on the Kool-Aid of that world at that time, and he wanted to be out of that world. So God told him that he will bring them out of the world. Now, Lot had family, of course, and he had a wife who we've learned towards the end of that story is she turned into a pillar of salt and dust. Now, you have to ask yourself, why did she do that? Well, when God told Lot that he was going to burn the city up for them to escape, and he told them, do not turn around.
Don't look back.
Exactly. And when that happened, they was walking up on the hill, and Lot's wife turned around.
Yeah.
And she turned into a pillar of salt. Why is that? Well,
It's a big God.
It's a number of things. First and foremost, she was of that world.
Yeah.
She loved that world. She was in that world. She did not want to leave that world. And two, just from deciphering that story, she was taking part in that world and doing things that was abominable to the Most High God.
Now, when God said, decided that he was going to save Lot and his family from there before it was destroyed, he sent two angels to fetch them, correct?
Right.
And the people, the men of the town, and men and women of the town, saw these two angels, and they wanted to do horrible things to them, like perverted and demented things to them. And the angels weren't even safe from the people in that town. That's how horrific it was.
Yeah, no doubt. There was literally only 3 biologic women left in that. Now, here's the thing: Sodom and Gomorrah was called the 5 cities on the plains, but it matched
that's
what?
right.
It matched what? The plains of Shinar. There were 5 areas of Shinar during the Tower of Babel event. So when he split everything, when the Lord went to war and split everything, most of Nimrod and his priests ended up. All those people ended up in where? In the 5 cities on the plains.
Right. They
weren't split across continents. They kind of went down the road. Well, then who was with them? When they were engineering these people, the super soldiers, the whole transgender thing is just what Ishtar is about. So you had these basically, bioengineered transgender people, and it sounds crazy, but it's true because it's found in other writings other than the Bible about the 5 cities on the plains. That was in what? Jordan. And and the whole thing, even that worship continued of Ishtar, and you had 3 biological women left in Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot's wife and his 2 daughters. Lot's wife being the last biological mother in that whole area.
Now, I will say about the Sodom and Gomorrah thing, and one of the videos I sent Lori earlier, we'll talk about this a bit. There's also another theory that there was a lot of genetic hybrids in Sodom and Gomorrah as well, because the Bible says that they suck after strange flesh.
Oh, 100%. Hero's exactly right. Oh, yeah. Whatever they built the Tower of Babel, that's where all the Tower of Babel, when everybody's like, okay, well, he split everything. Most of my people are gone, and let's just go walk down here, because they were bummed. But where did they go? They started it all over again.
Yep.
And if you even look at what's referred to, like I believe in, it's about women giving birth to monsters. It's found in the Apocrypha. That was in Sodom and Gomorrah. God referenced that as in Sodom and Gomorrah, so will Babylon have women giving birth to monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Notice that everything is sequential with one another. I mean, how many years
100%.
apart was the days of Noah to Sodom and Gomorrah?
It wasn't long. It was probably, let's see, Tower of Babel was 244 years after the flood waters receded. And then I'm pretty sure that Genesis 19 is Sodom and Gomorrah, the story of it. So I would say not even another 50, 100 years, if that.
And during that time, the DNA manipulation that was taking place, the Bible is clear. It tells us that there was DNA manipulations going on, and there was definitely, when we were in school and we started learning about different mythological creatures, those are the reason for the flood as well. These human hybrid, right up to mermaids and minotaurs, and these animal human hybrids. These were not just mythological creatures. These actually existed on the earth.
Now there's a belief that when the fallen angels came down and mated with the women, they created the Nephilim, but the women were turned into the mermaids or the sirens. There's a theory of that as well.
Now, is that the video that you sent me?
No, I could not find that video. I could not find that one.
Because you sent me the one with the satires.
Hero, the Watchers. It also says the Watchers had intercourse with women, insects, and animals. They did all three. Right. Everything, every creepy thing was corrupted, except what got onto the ark and then ate humans. Everything else that was on the earth, that the earth brought forth and God created, as it says in Genesis, was all DNA manipulated. Right. Everything.
Right. And then also, there's another video I tried to find, but I couldn't find it, so it might have been taken down. But it was basically scientists talking about how they would try to create genetic hybrids, but they would seem like they would like grow up inside of like the fake like womb or embryo or whatever, but they would die every time. And I guess it's because the spirit of God wasn't put inside of it, because it's basically an abomination to God. So God isn't going to put a spirit in it. But within those bodies, since they're pretty much like husks, another outside spirit can come into those bodies. So a lot of these hybrids are most likely just demons in the flesh, if that makes sense.
Well, it does make sense, because when you think about it, okay, to have a soul, you have to have that spark from God. You have to have that male sperm and the female egg, and when they unite, I mean, you can actually see it under an electron microscope. You can see that initial spark as soon as they're united. There's that spark. That's the beginning. That's the soul. That's the beginning of life. That was, that's the beginning. And so when you have these, essentially these cloned or DNA manipulated, I don't even know what to call them, creature hybrids, they're essentially golem. They're soulless beings, and that is prime for a demon to come into and take hold of. Because
exactly.
the only thing that stops a demon from really taking over a person is the soul fighting back. If you don't have that soul fighting back, there's nothing to stop that demon. So if there's no soul, that golem is completely 100% under the influence of that demon.
Yeah. And then here's something that I figured out myself. You'll probably never hear this from anyone else, so I got to take credit for this one. So in certain when people are dealing with certain levels of like the demonic, and they say they see demons, based off of the color of the demon's eyes is pretty much how much control that spirit has over your life. So if they have glowing red eyes, that means that they pretty much have like almost full control over your life. And with a lot of these cryptids, including like the Mothman and things like this, they will have glowing red eyes. So that makes me think, okay, yeah, it's probably a demon inside of those creatures. And like the thing with the Mothman is people have spotted it like right before like giant like bad events, like it got spotted at Chernobyl, it got spotted at like bridges falling down, it got spotted in 2001, like all types of stuff.
We've had it spotted here in Chicago at the O'Hare Airport for the last couple of years, so I'm expecting something to happen here because of that. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing with Nazi transducism, that's the only research that I've ever stopped even messing with whatsoever, was because in that research, the transducism, they can literally manipulate the sperm before it touches the egg on actual human made sperm and a human, eggs. I mean, it's like that's about as wicked as you can get.
Yeah.
And when I was researching that was forming in my reality, and I got totally away from even looking into that.
Well, the Nazis had a lot to do when it came to the modern day geoengineering and gene splicing of humanity and of the things that we have on our planet today. Um, Ernie wanted to touch base and kind of go back just a moment and talk about the yeah. Let me do something first before we go there, Ernie. Um, the ultimate plan is for, hold on a second, I gotta find it. Is the reduction of babies, because God said, to go out and He gave us the command to go out and to populate the earth. And that is what our job was, to be stewards of the earth, to populate the earth. That is what we were supposed to do. But the thing that happened was now they're trying to stop it. They're trying to stop the population. And the reason how they're doing that is through sexual perversion, of course, and through androgyny, to pull us back to the occult. In the Kabbalah, Adam, the primal or original man, is said to be androgynous. In other words, according to the Satanic Bible, man was created sexless. It says androgyny is presently being realized through progressive genetic and surgical manipulation. The plan is concerned with rebuilding mankind, and Alice Bailey talks about it in her secret document, pages 148. Page 148. The goal toward which the human species should aim is the progressive reintegration of the sexes until androgyny is obtained. The evolve tends towards bisexuality. And we are told in the Bible this is one of the abominations in Deuteronomy. Ernie, take it away and kind of expand upon that with the topic you wanted to pull in.
Well, I want to go ahead and present this to you here. A lot of times when we talk about Sodom and Gomorrah, we don't talk about the deviation of the term Sodom. Okay, now Sodom is the original name for the term sodomy, also called buggery in British English, generally refers to either anal sex, but occasionally also oral sex between people, or any sexual activity between a human and an animal, bestiality. It may also mean any non-procreative sexual activity. Originally, the term sodomy, which is derived from the story of Sodom and Gomorrah in the book of Genesis, was commonly restricted to anal sex. Sodomy laws in many countries criminalize the behavior. In the Western world, many of these laws have been overturned or are routinely not enforced. A person who practiced sodomy is sometimes referred to as a sodomite. So, as we can see, that term is not just a name of a piece of land, but it's also a verb in which it describes an action. And this action is very heinous, and it is very looked down upon from the Most High God. Now, we are designed to, engage in intercourse in a biblical manner, using biblical methods, and anything above that is giving our well-being and our souls up for the devil to implement his demons into our souls and take over, just as they did in Sodom and Gomorrah. Mm-hmm. Now, as you can see, many countries criminalize that just because of that sinful nature attached to it. But as you can see in the Western world, they're overlooked often and are overturned.
A lot of things leads back to
the exactly, and that leads back to the United States being ancient Babylon, because the things that is portrayed in many other cultures to be horrific and disgusting and grotesque, we accept that as a part of our culture. You can go ahead, Lori. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. But yeah, because I mean, they're trying to, with the legalization of deviant sexual acts, with them trying to push now the what is it called? MAP? Is it called MAPS? Minor attracted person?
That sounds like it.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. They're trying to legalize MAP. They're trying to make it so that it's not illegal. It's if you have a predisposition for younger humans that's not a mental illness. That's just your preference, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's called MAP, minor attracted person, I believe it is. All of this goes back to trying to take away from God's command for us to go forth and be fruitful and to multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish in the sea and over the fowl in the air and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. That was his commandment to man, to Adam and Eve.
It's the reverse of what everything God has taught us to do and be.
100%.
So you can't reproduce from the butt crack.
Jonathan Cahn talked about I don't know how long ago it was, but Jonathan Cahn has a book, called Return of the Destroyer Gods or whatever. But he talks about Ishtar and says, look at the sexual revolution going on in America now. But think about what y'all just said. How many fronts are there now that have to do with intercourse? There's you just said the minor attracted persons. That's one subject. That's transgender, another subject. Then the gay rights, another subject. And then, but here's the thing. What is popular now among the most common of women is websites that allow them to legally and privately or somewhat and make money off of their bodies. That is a whole damn revolution going on.
Yeah.
But that's the return of Ishtar. So when I saw that, I'm thinking,
they're tarnishing. Okay, so when God created Adam and Eve, He created Eve as this she had a job to do, and that was to be the mother of all creation, to be Adam's soulmate, to procreate, to bring children forth, and they're trying to corrupt the place of a female. I'm telling you, there is a lot of misogyny in this world right now. A lot of hatred toward females. A lot of, you got the feminist movement. You've got, the lesbian, LGBTQRST, whatever you want to call it, movement. You've got the transgender movement. These are all designed to put and minimize the female, in my opinion.
Well, it's not just the female, but it's the male as well. It is the man as well.
You're right. Because they're demasculizing the men, of course. Yes.
I mean, look at some of the stars that they wear on red carpets.
Yeah.
Sodom and Gomorrah, they went after the biological women. And that's the same thing. It's the same playbook. They don't know nothing else. And then guess what? It's starting with the men. If you don't like trans women, then if you say, well, I don't like trans women, well, they'll say, well, you're a homophobe or transphobe. They're forcing it. It's now if you choose not to be with the trans woman, then you are against them.
Yeah, you're transphobic. Exactly.
But it's like, well, where's my choice at? Well, they don't care about choice anymore. They're making you submit to their will.
They get offended if you, as a man, went out to a bar and you were to, you're not supposed to even ask them, to make sure that they're female before you go into a whatever with them.
I'll bet you money
You
I
offend
could
these people in any way in Canada, you will go to jail.
Yeah, or get the those ABCs, whatever they are, after you. So, yep. As in the days of Noah, so they had genetic engineering, but they also had this whole, trying to minimalize the human or the male and female relationship. This is what happens, in the days of Noah. It wasn't just, I just don't think a lot of people understand what the genetic engineering, the actual depth of it was, because
a lot.
It was so bad that God had to destroy the planet. Everything, every man, woman, child, animal, everything was destroyed except for Noah and what was taken on the ark, because of the reason of the genetic manipulation. If they didn't do that, Christ could never have been born, right?
Yeah.
If looking at the world now, looking at all of the perversion and all of the things that are anti-biblical or anti-Christ about the world now, how bad do you think it actually had to be at the time of the flood? Because it's pretty bad now, right?
Oh, it was 10 times worse.
But we don't see creatures walking around like this.
Not yet.
Well, here's the thing, right? The National Park Service was created by Teddy Roosevelt, and there's a theory that holds a lot of credibility that deals with the missing 411 phenomenon, where basically a ton of people go missing in national parks by caves and along the same exact routes, like every single year.
100%. Yep.
And basically what the theory is that Teddy Roosevelt made the national park system so they could pretty much keep track of or keep whatever's inside these national parks, which is most likely like certain cryptids, like I'm not going to say the name because apparently you aren't supposed to say the name, but the Wendy's or the Wendy you-know-whats, and then the skinwalkers and things of that nature, which have been seen by numerous people going all the way back to the Native Americans. So it's like with the national park system and all these people going missing during the 411 phenomenon, and this is getting like a lot of attention specifically because of TikTok. I kind of lost my train of thought there, but
who was it that put up the national parks?
Teddy Roosevelt.
Teddy Roosevelt. Okay.
Theodore Roosevelt.
Okay. Now, okay, I'm trying to remember. So Teddy Roosevelt, he did the parks, but Eisenhower, he made the pact with these creatures, and basically, I think if one goes along with the other, I think that the 411 in the national parks has to do with Roosevelt's treaty with them when he said, with Eisenhower's treaty with them when he said, you can take so many humans every year, we won't say anything about it, and and that's the reason why we're told is for genetic manipulation.
I mean, yeah, who knows, honestly. Maybe they made some sort of treaty, maybe they're just trying to like lock them off. I know that there was and I really should have wrote more notes about this, but there was a kid that went missing in one of the national parks, and they had a team of Green Berets go on a search and rescue mission in the national parks to get the kid out. And you got to think, like, what in the national parks would need some of the most trained military forces to go and grab a kid for a search and rescue mission in the United States in the national parks? Like, that is that doesn't ring any alarm bells for anybody. Like, I don't.
Well, yeah, I mean, Hero's right, because I watched the one about the UFO connection and that guy missing in British Columbia without even asking for it. The Royal Mounted Police of Canada, they sent in like their paramilitary to search for this guy, and they're like, well, why would they need them? Like, heavily armed.
Yeah.
And the wife could never get a straight answer from the Royal Mounted Police saying, why did y'all use y'all's like hostage rescue team heavily armed? And then somebody who used to work for them finally said, well, we've gotten so many calls in the last 20 years about, strange things and people disappearing that they take no chances and they send the heavily armed for search and rescue. And it's like, wow, that had to come out like on the side, because they're like, yeah, well, we fight things that, most people don't want to know about or shouldn't know about.
Right. And didn't Phil Schneider? He was another one when he revealed Dulce. What is it called?
Dulce. Yeah, when he fought, when he had a firefight with him.
Yeah, that's what Dulce was. That it was a engineering, a bioengineering.
It was Nightmare Hall. That's what they called it.
What was it?
Nightmare Hall.
And that was where they were doing the genetic manipulation on human beings, right?
Yeah, that's where the guy went down there and gave his testimony that the pig man grabbed his hand.
Right. Now, a lot of people will say, but Lori, human engineering, genetic DNA manipulation is illegal in the United States. Well, guess what? It is prohibited with the use of federal funding, but not otherwise prohibited with private funding.
I'm going to tell you what, if a country builds its capital beneath Ishtar and Osiris, anything is possible on this land. Exactly.
There is a company that started, his name was Rael. He's a whack job. We'll get into him in a few minutes, but Clonade, pioneer for human cloning. We've talked about this a long time ago, but this was, they had to leave the United States because, cloning's illegal in the United States. So they went to Bermuda, and it says Clonade is the world's leading provider of reproductive human cloning services. Eve, the first clone baby, was born on December 26, 2002, thanks to our team of highly skilled scientists. Since then, we've been able to help a number of patients have their own children through our cloning technology. Clonade can help you if you are sterile and have lost hope of having a child that you dreamed of. If you're a homosexual and deeply desire a child who would carry your own genes. If you have just lost or are about to lose a beloved family member and would like to see an identical twin of that person begin a new life. If you're HIV positive and want to have a child that would be your genetic twin without infecting either the baby or your partner with the virus. Or if you just simply want to be cloned, whatever your reasons may be. History. Clonade, the first human cloning company in the world, was founded in 1997 by Rael and a group of investors who created the Valiant Venture Limited Corporation based in the Bahamas. In the first couple of years, Clonade has already received enormous media coverage. However, due to the pressure mounted on the Bahamas government by French journalists, Valiant Venture Limited was canceled as government representatives were thinking the laboratory would be established in the Bahama Islands. Meanwhile, a list of serious potential customers had grown to more than 250 people. Therefore, during the year 2000, Rael decided to hand over Clonade project to Dr. Bridget Bossier, a Raelian bishop, in order for her to start working on actually cloning the first human being with a team of well-trained scientists. Dr. Bossier has a PhD degree in physical and biomolecular chemistry. In her last job, she was a marketing director for a large chemical company in France. Now, who is Rael? Oh, hold on, let me push over here. So Rael, to me, this is more of a religion, to tell you the truth, guys. So Rael, it's this guy. This guy right here. And yeah, he dresses like Clark, like the sci-fi writer Clark. So the Raelian movement is the founder of the Clonade company, which claims to have produced the first clone baby. The movement claims to have 40,000 members in several countries, although the number is difficult to verify. The sect, which believes humans were created by extraterrestrial beings who had mastered genetic engineering, was founded in France in 1973 by a former journalist who worked for a racing car magazine. Yeah, that's him. One December morning in 1973, journalist Claude Vorahan, that's him, was on his way to work in the French provincial town of Clermont-Ferrand. But according to the book written by Mr. whatever his name is, now known as Rael, instead of going to the office on an impulse, he drove to a nearby volcano. God, that sounds like the Scientologists. There he said he was contacted by an extraterrestrial being who emerged from a flying saucer and told him in fluent French that humans were created in laboratories by people from another planet. Creators were known as the Elohim, a word which in ancient Hebrew means those who came from the sky. It is used in Jewish prayers to refer to God as God. He was told to spread the word of the Elohim on earth in preparation for their return. Their interest in cloning seems to stem from their belief that the human soul perishes when the body dies. Therefore, they believe the key to eternal life is not the soul, but the recreation of individuals from their DNA.
Isn't that crazy? That because Nephilim don't like souls, but they like DNA. It's like that's like the exact story. That's how crazy it is.
Well, the thing of it is when you look at the DNA, every single strand of DNA has the name of God written and encoded into it.
Yeah.
Right.
And any relic found always has the double helix on it, no matter if it's Egyptian, found in Mexico, relics, from the Toltecs. Every one of them has the damn obelisk and damn double helix DNA symbol.
It seems as if he had an encounter with the Anunnaki.
Well, he said volcano. I mean, that's another thing too. People have reported UFOs coming out of volcanoes for years. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the largest volcano in the world is named after King Anak of the Anakim, a biblical giant, but that guy, what he said, and then the Elohim, that's another thing. Like, people don't realize that in the Old Testament, the term Rapha Elohim is mentioned 33 times. Yeah. That's the Nephilim offspring. Rapha Elohim means giants.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy is like describing giants come out of the volcano, and they don't like souls, they like DNA. And I mean, he's like, well, he's just telling the truth.
Right. Well, I mean, when we sit there and we're talking about, these crazy scientists, look at, if you get the right equipment and you have enough startup money, you could be in your basement messing with the human genome, right? I mean, it doesn't take. What comes to mind is look at. Anybody watch Breaking Bad? All you got to do is have a science degree, and you can make money making crystal meth.
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing applies to this. If you have the right, mindset, you have an increased IQ, money, and you can be in your basement freaking around with DNA too. That's scary.
What's scary is that they're doing in Ukraine with these biolabs, mm-hmm. and what they're not talking about. Oh, I don't know if I could say this on YouTube without getting you banned, but everybody's like, the Russians are bad. But what they're doing is going into these biolabs, but they're not just doing biolabs. It's like in the days of Noah, they're messing with the genetics, and they were specifically targeting genomes. Like, say you want to get rid of all the Jews, then the viruses could target the particular Jews or the Germans or whatever you're targeting. That's what they were actually doing there in Ukraine, as well as cloning and the bioweapons. So, you've got someone with that mindset, like you're talking about Fauci. It comes to mind, Mm-hmm. And earlier, mm-hmm. y'all were talking about that Nazi. What was his name? The bad guy, the doctor.
Joseph Mengele.
Right. And when y'all were talking about that, I keep forgetting I'm on the show because I'm so used to listening to y'all all the time. And so I just sat here for 30 minutes and forgot I was on the show because I'm just used to listening to y'all, but I was thinking Fauci when y'all said that, because, and he was tied. He's also tied up, and it'll all come out too with Ukraine.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah, they're all damn Nazis. I mean, the majority of the Fourth Reich, which America, I think, is because the Nazis won World War II, is the fact that there are tons of generations of Nazis in America.
Yep.
All the kids from all these paperclip, and they brought more into the, these camps in Pennsylvania. Most of them turned into Catholic priests. I mean, The Germans.
They started the CIA. They started the FBI.
Oh, 100%.
They started the
And it's
Secret
like,
Service. They started the American Medical Association. They started the psychology at these colleges. I mean, they literally infiltrated every aspect that could and is messing with God.
yeah, and even the stories. Remember, I told you. I'm sure most people got that book by David Flynn, but there are artifacts found that literally show and tell the story of Mars that were found in the Toltec ruins that showed these bioengineering labs on these tablets that were on Mars. And there's tons of stories of how the Mars's atmosphere was taken away because they were continuing their chimeric engineering on Mars from Rahab. And then, instead of Mars getting blown up like Rahab was, it got its atmosphere taken away. And then they came where? To the earth. And then they had the flood of Jeremiah, where they had these creatures that described in Jeremiah, but there was no man. So, I mean, these wars over these bioengineering of different things have always been. And the indigenous tribes knew it, that they described it on their tablets. They talk about it. And then the Nazis obviously went straight to the horse's mouth and learned about doing it. And then now they're in Ukraine, which was, well, that's where most of the Nazis went after World War II. Yep. That's a fact. Yep. And then it's like, wait a minute. So we brought them over in paperclip, and then we're running the Ukraine operations right now. It's like, duh.
Yep. Right.
It's all Nazis. It's true. I mean,
but
these people are
just all Nazis. Because when I was doing my Disney research, it was the OSS, which was the precursor to the CIA, ran by Wild Bill Donovan. But then when they started the CIA, what they did, and I found this in the declassified in the CIA vault, is actually declassified documents showing where the project paperclips were in fact actually implemented into the CIA. But digging in further, I found a documentary where it actually states, and I actually have a copy of this if y'all want to play it on another one of the shows, where they say that the CIA was made up originally of, when they first started forming it together, the members of the Illuminati families, the Morgans, all of them, the DuPonts, all the Rothschilds, all the Illuminati families, where they were brought in to start the CIA along with paperclip. Well,
100%. Well, guess what? They're all Germanic from Iceland. The Germans know that there is no German. It's Bavarian and it's from Iceland. That's original people, and that's what the families are from. Even Fritz talked about that, and obviously
but it makes sense too, because the CIA, people don't understand the difference between the FBI and the CIA. The FBI only has authorization on United States soil, whereas the CIA is international. The CIA does not work on U.S. soil. It works on every other land, every other country other than the U.S. The FBI handles the United States. The CIA does everything else. So that makes perfect sense that they would have all these families, as the first members of the CIA, because, they spread them out and,
it's Lucifer's intelligence.
Yeah, but we've been under like the one world for a long time, because every country, every leader of every country, they're all friends. They're not.
Well, yeah, Lucifer plays he has every minion on every country. He runs this.
Exactly.
It's always been, he's involved with everything. Anything he's involved, along with everything that fell with him.
Another that they created through the Nazis and everything was the different organizations, the League of Nations, the UN, the Council of 300, all these other umbrella organizations, and the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization was another one they created, and that is the prime. That's who is backing this human genome editing. Genome editing is a method of making specific changes to the DNA of a cell or organism. It can be used to add, remove, or alter DNA in the genome. Human genome editing technologies can be used on somatic cells, non-heritable, germline cells not for reproduction, and germline cells for reproduction. They're able to, if a cell reproduces, they're able to manipulate it. Bottom line.
Oh yeah, and they have been able to do that for centuries. I mean,
Nothing new under the sun, right?
Right. I mean, I keep referring back to the days of Noah, primarily because I've done a sermon on it a couple of weeks ago, and the stuff that I uncovered for my sermon was, it's stuff that we already know, but it's different when you actually read it. And as far as the flood goes too, I mean, those chimeras and stuff probably withstood that and, probably went in the earth. I mean, we see evidence of that with David and Goliath.
Mm-hmm.
So this type of
the Sumerians said their writings say that's how the giants escaped the flood, as they went into the earth. So who's to say other things didn't as well, right?
Exactly. And the fact that they can manipulate DNA, especially on this stage when technology has increased. I mean, Russ Dizdar talked about it quite a bit about using gene editing to create a super soldier, which can overcome every human being on this planet. So what goes to say that the stuff that we've seen happen in Sodom and Gomorrah and Noah is not going to take place right now, because it is. And Matthew 24 definitely depicts that it is going to happen.
Right. Exactly. I have a short video that Hero threw over at me. Let me pull this up. It talks about satyrs, sirens, Nephilim, and Satan. You guys want to play it?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hybrid things in Greek mythology and our history and Egyptology. Well, to know that, I got to share a little bit about the Book of Enoch with you. Book of Enoch is distorted text, so do not take everything in it 100% accurate. There's been some manipulation that's happened to it, and it's been removed from the Bible, again, on purpose. I think Satan didn't want it in there because it exposes a lot about demons and Nephilim and history. It talks about the plan of Satan manipulating the gene pool of humanity, and it describes it. So let's get into it. Enoch chapter 7. Now this is talking about the angels and what they did with the human wives. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for him one, and they began to go into them and defile them with them. And they taught them charms and enchantments and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. They became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells. Again, this is referencing the Greek gods. You know how they were giant? That's why it's talking about. These angels are the children of the angels. They're called the Nephilim, who consumed all the acquisitions of men, and the men could no longer sustain them. The giants turned against them and devoured humankind. And they began to sin against the birds of the air and the beasts and the reptiles and the fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink their blood. Now, I don't know about you, but how can you sin against a bird of the air or a fish of the sea unless, if eating it isn't sinning against it, I'm guessing it's going to be fornicating with it. So mermaids, satyrs, centaurs, minotaurs, all these things aren't just half man, half goat, or half man, half fish. They're angel, fish, and goat, and man, all mixed. They're genetically hybrid creatures. And this is all from Greek mythology. These same creatures were the same creatures referred to in another removed biblical text called the Book of Jasher. They're called the Yamim. They're genetically mixed, hybridized perversion of God's perfect genetic creatures. The same creatures that you see in Greek mythology as well as in Egyptology. And in Genesis, it says that Satan had a seed. Well, this is his seed. It's the perversion of God's genetics. When Satan said, I will make man in my image, his image was, okay, well, you've got a man, God, and you've got a goat. Well, I'm going to make a man goat. How about that? That is Satan's perverted image of God, the perversion of God's perfect genetics. Satan has been trying to pervert God's genetic perfection since the beginning. And that's what the entire Bible is about. And the flood was literally God wiping out the first generation of Nephilim so that way they wouldn't continue to make more that were so high level Nephilim perverted genetics. Genesis 6, that's why it declares Noah was pure and blameless in his generations. It means genetically pure. Him and his family were genetically the only humans left, but his sons' wives might still have had some distant Nephilim genetic sequencing involved that bred back into society. And that's why it says the Nephilim were there in those days and after. See, they persisted. Their genetics persisted in tiny element remnants. And that's where the Goliath came from. That's why when God said, go into the city and kill every man, woman, and child, which sounds incredibly cruel, you don't understand, but they were Nephilim. They were genetically impure Nephilim human angel hybrids. And their soul is not treated the same as ours. And their death is not treated the same as ours. When God took out the city of Sodom and Gomorrah, he wiped them out. A lot of people say, oh, it was because they were homosexual. Well, the word homosexual was not the word used in that story. It actually says they were seeking after strange flesh. I'm sure there was a lot of perverse wickedness going on, but it doesn't say specifically homosexuality. It says seeking after strange flesh because the city was trying to create more Nephilim. That's why when the angels fell down in the city of Sodom and Gomorrah, they saw them and they said, give us those men so we can have our way with them. Where every other instance where an angel appears, people are freaked out. They're like, whoa, are you for me or are you against me? But not when they appear in the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. When they appear there, the men want to have their way with them. They want to make more Nephilim. Why did God spare the people of Nineveh and Jonah and the whale, and the story of Jonah and the whale? Even Jonah was like, God, wipe them out. I don't want to deal with them. They're evil. He's just like, peace out, I'm out. Gets on a boat, waves come, they throw him overboard, the whale swallows him, he spits him up on the shores. He's like, fine, I'll talk to the people of Nineveh. And God saves the city of Nineveh. He saves all the people. What's the difference between the people of Nineveh and the people of Sodom and Gomorrah? They're human. The people of Nineveh were human. People of Sodom and Gomorrah were Nephilim, genetically mixed hybrid beings. I know this sounds shocking to a lot of people because they don't read the Bible and they don't read the other ancient text, but this is what it says, and this is the truth, and this is why God had to wipe out the Philistines. Goliath was a giant. He was Nephilim. When Moses first sent the people into the promised land, they went in there and said, we don't want to go in there. We look like grasshoppers to them. They are giants. They were Nephilim. And God said, go in there and wipe them out. See, God was trying to purify the genetic line and get rid of the seed of Satan out of our genetics. The entire Bible is this reiteration trying to wipe out the seed of Satan to purify it from our genetics. And see, this is why Jesus said, go into the world and preach the gospel to every creature. Every creature. The Hebrew word there is nephesh. It's similar to the word Nephilim, has neph in it. It means every being with the breath of life in it. This is why Jesus said that, though. This is the persisting thing throughout the entire Bible, where God continuously wiping out the genetic perversion, the angelic perversion of God's perfect genetics. In the Bible, it says that the end times will be like the days of Noah. Well, if you don't read the book of Enoch and you don't read the other ancient texts, you're not going to know what the days of Noah were. But the days of Noah were the time when human genetics were being modified and manipulated, not in the image of God, but rather in the image of Satan. And why do you think the mark in the end times is called the mark of the beast? It's not called the mark of Satan, the mark of the devil, the mark of the evil one, or the one that stops you or goes against God. No, it's the mark of the beast, because they're trying to make you into a genetically mixed, hybridized human, angel, Nephilim, Yamim beast. That's why it's called the mark of the beast. And it's coming again, guys. You need to pay attention.
Wow.
Yeah, that guy's exactly right.
There was a whole lot of truth in that 7 minutes. Hero, you you wanted to talk about something that he mentioned, right?
Yeah, and that kind of, I almost, you know, when you look into certain things, you fall down rabbit holes, and I fell down kind of a rabbit hole with this one. So looking into the goat men, right? So in Greek mythology, they're called satyrs, which are basically half human, half goats. And you have all types of depictions and sightings of these throughout history. And you even have some that are extremely recent. Like there's probably been some this year. The most popular ones in the United States being the Jersey Devil and the Pope Lake Monster. Okay, so the Pope Lake Monster is believed to hypnotize people into unaliving themselves. And it's believed that this creature or being lives under the bridge of Pope Lake. And the strange thing about this is that there are multiple people who have died on that same exact bridge looking for that being. They've either fallen off the bridge and died or gotten hit by a train because there's train tracks on that bridge. So those are two goatman entities that are found in the United States, known as cryptids, or it's part of cryptozoology. Basically, beings that are, it's basically beings that haven't been recognized by mainstream science yet. So that's what cryptids are. Then you also, and this is where the rabbit hole kind of comes in. There's this German being known as Krampus, who is a half goat, half demon, who accompanied Saint Nick, and basically he abducts bad children. But if you go into Greek mythology, there is a god named Pan, who is a satyr, half goat, half man, and he is a god of fertility, the wild and rustic music, and he plays the flute, which is known as Pan's flute, similar to who? Peter Pan, who attracts children to pretty much accompany him to where? Neverland, right? Now, Pan tends to be accompanied by what are known as nymphs, which are basically lower tier, if you want to call them, divine fertility entities, female spiritual beings. So you have Pan and the nymphs, which are both basically sexual deities, which is where the term pansexual comes from, and nymphomaniac. And then you also have statues of Pan.
You did go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. And then you also have statues of Pan where he's playing a flute with an erection. And you also have statues of Pan where he's having sexual relations with a goat.
In this episode of Hero Ruins Everything.
He's right, though.
Wow.
I'm never going to have a flute again. I'm not messing with that.
You fell down head first on that one.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, he's right. And also, too, I think it's in Isaiah, whenever it talks about the ruins of Babylon, it says satyrs will dance on the ashes of Babylon.
Yep.
Yeah. And, it's interesting because, when people tell you the truth about something, they make it satire a lot, and it's, these satire, what is the one? Babylon Bee. Babylon Bee, it's supposed to be a satire site, but I'll tell you something, it's a lot of truth on that site.
Oh, yeah. And they do it by design.
Absolutely they do it.
I mean, if you talk to the owner of it, he explicitly said that he's based this off of truth in many ways. So
right. So when the guy talks about how Satan, is trying, when God created Adam and Eve in his image, that made Satan very jealous because God saw that we were good. And he has, we as human beings, as those created in his image, we have the gift of salvation. Our souls can be saved. Unfortunately, the angels and the other entities that he created before human beings don't have souls, so they cannot have salvation. So that's why Satan wants to take away and corrupt the DNA, to corrupt the soul, to capture the soul and take it away from God, and so that we do not get eternal life. In a nutshell. Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's all about spiritual warfare.
I mean, yeah, because those things have to stay here while we are going to ascend into heaven. And they can't have that because they can't leave this plane. They're not going to go to heaven like humans are. I think that's why they obviously attack our salvation so much.
Yeah.
Clones don't have souls. I do not believe that any clone that they've been successful at, and they have had success. We've got baby, what is it? What is her name? Baby Eve. from Clonade. Clonade was successful. That was their first baby. It was baby Eve. And kind of creepy that the name that they chose to give that baby was Eve. But I don't believe that clones or these genetically modified creatures, they're not souls because they're not created in God's image, right?
No.
You know, how many of you have seen the movie Us by Jordan Peele?
No.
That movie was all about like clones, and basically like what the backstory of the film is. There was basically a government facility where they created clones, and it was like clones of a bunch of people, but they ended up giving up on the project because they couldn't give the clones souls. So all they would do was follow exactly what the people like their clone counterparts did, like the real versions of them. But they ended up like coming to the surface and like pretty much attacking all like the original versions of themselves. And it's a pretty crazy movie if you've seen it before.
Wow.
And he puts a lot of like interesting stuff in his films. That's why I always watch like Jordan Peele films.
I saw a film the other day. It was two people. They went into a lab. Maybe it was, I saw it on TikTok. I don't know, but I don't remember the name of the movie now. It was two people. They came into the lab and they were incubating babies in these incubators, and in these actually they were like wombs. You know, they were enclosed wombs. And the guy and the girl came in and they were dressed and they were going to deliver one, and she got caught in it in her hand, and it was a creature. It was a creature that at the end you saw it dropped out of it. It wasn't even human form. And she says, "Oh my God, what is that?" And he said, "A mistake."
Huh.
I can't remember what it was now, but it was like a 3 or 4 minute clip. And I pulled the movie, I had it, and I don't know what I did with it. That's the problem when I have 17 social media sites where I look at stuff. I don't know where I found it on. But yeah, so and they do. I mean, they have these labs. They have these biometric labs that, that's what they're doing. And again, Phil Schneider told us that that's what we're doing in New Mexico.
That's interesting.
So she says, "Oh, great, clone zombies." Yeah, it's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Yeah, that's another one. What was the one? Was it clones or was it twins? Boys of Brazil. What was that? Clones or was that twins?
That was twins, I'm pretty sure.
Twins.
I sent you something on clones on your text too. You might want to put it on there.
On my text? Oh, there you are. Okay, hold on a minute. I have to put it on. Oops.
Now with the creatures that I'm not going to say the full name of, I hope you know what they are. But the Wendy's, does anyone know what I'm trying to say there?
Wendy's, Hero. That's a good hamburger. Don't say that.
No,
the ones that go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
yeah.
First of all,
you got me kind of confused over here.
Oh, okay.
It's not Wendy's a restaurant, Ernie.
It's not Wendy's here. It's Wendy's to go.
Yeah, I guess you're not supposed to say that because it can attract that spirit. At least that's what the natives believe.
Yeah, let me hold on a second, and I got to paste that. I got to pull up something on Facebook. I'll type it in our chat. I don't know how to spell it. I think that's how you spell it. And I put it in in the chat for everybody.
Well, we can rebuke in the name of Jesus. I'm pretty sure to go away.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what Ann sent me. Why am I on my computer? Come on. I know you want to. Trying to pull it up. Give me 2 seconds.
But we can't even say that word.
Well, I mean, the people in Appalachia, they're very superstitious.
Well, there's power in words, And
There is.
there's power in God's name, so why wouldn't there be power in their names too? I don't like to say their names because you know what? They're not even worth my breath. But I don't want to take a chance on summoning them, you know, or speaking them into being.
You know what? It's just spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. Ernie, I'm gonna send it to you. If that's okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, you always do it, so I mean, I'm used to it.
I know. It's not. It's just spinning. I can't pull it up. I don't know why. All right, I'm gonna let you pull it up.
Okay, give me 1 second
Oh,
here.
we lost Hero. See, that's what happened. I printed the word and he's gone.
Poof. Bye, Hero.
And he's gone. If he comes back.
Okay, give me one. All right, give me 1 second here.
Where
put
is
it on the correct browser.
They must have got him.
Where is Eve? All right, let me pull this up real quick while you're doing that. So I did find an article. It says, whatever happened to baby Eve? It says, Dolly, do you remember Dolly the sheep? If you're under the age of 30, probably not. So here's a refresher. In 1997, a team of scientists at the University of Edinburgh announced that they had successfully cloned a 6-year-old Finn-Dorse sheep, Dolly, who was promoted in the press as a first cloned animal. Technically speaking, Dolly wasn't the first cloned animal. There had already been clones created through somatic cell transfer from embryonic stem cells and by embryo splitting to create artificial twins. Dolly was the first clone created from an adult cell, which is to say not an embryonic stem cell, but a fully differentiated, specialized cell from a mature individual. Several months, let's see, where is it? Where's
Lori? Hero said he needs a link again.
Oh, okay.
Already did it.
Oh,
thank you.
Just make sure you delete it, please.
All right. As soon as he pops in, I will. In March 11th of 1997, Rael held a press conference. Hold on a second. And announced in Las Vegas, Flamingo Hilton, he wanted to announce the formation of the Valiant Ventures Limited, the umbrella company. Okay. And they got together and they created Baby Eve. You know what? Here, copy. Here, y'all go look yourselves. It's a long article that explains what happened to Baby Eve. I don't know. I think she's still alive, to tell you the truth. I don't know. But so I've seen this video and oh my gosh.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and play this for y'all.
Did you really forget who run it? Every time I evolve, I know they get sick to their stomach. Eclipse entire universe, that's how I always done it. Got body double, so that's not me that you see in public. Just know that they all stunned. If you really want it,
Oh, yeah, I hope we don't get hit with this music. If you didn't see it, and I saw that. There was Zelensky, who was meeting with Biden in Ukraine. And as they were walking past, his body double or his clone or whatever was seen twice. It was caught in pictures. Once he was like where you just saw him behind him. And then another one you saw where he was like around the corner looking and watching them. So they caught his body double or his clone twice.
Oh, yeah. Well, they said that there's 3 Bidens right now. Actual 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah. Russia, Marshall, what's his name? Last name's Marshall. He exposed the huge cloning facility in Russia.
So I want if that's the only one, or is there some here as well?
That's the biggest one, but there's cloning facilities here in the United States, and there's a cloning facility in South America, I think. I think there's 3 of
And
them.
I'm sure they're like government and military protected.
Oh gosh, yeah.
This world is weird.
This world is wicked weird.
Yeah. I mean, you say these people don't have souls, which I wholeheartedly believe you. So how can they be sentient? How can they be able to communicate? How be able to have feelings or emotions?
Because with the clones, they have the ability to, and Elon Musk, okay, all of the technology that the scientists and the governments tell us that we have right now, we've had for probably decades, if not generations. So Elon Musk is talking about how he wants to download a person's psyche or conscience or brain into a computer. They've already done that. It takes 72 hours to complete a human clone. Donald Marshall talks about this. If you guys go listen and talk, listen to him. I'm trying to get him on the show actually, but my platform isn't big enough for him yet. But Donald Marshall talks about how they clone these people, and it takes 72 hours for them to completely download their brain, their memories into these clones. The only thing that they haven't mastered yet is that a clone will age rapidly. It has a faster metabolism than a human. And it also, their body temperature is higher. So when you see Putin or Biden or anybody, Trump, anybody that is sweating profusely, that's a clone. Obama, he was notorious for that. Those are clones.
Yeah.
Because their body temperature is above 98.6, their metabolism is faster, and they break down faster. So they've always got a clone ready to go because, again, it takes 72 hours. And, these people can't always be out of the spotlight for 72 hours. But once they're done, they can shut them down. And, hey, if Biden, this is just a theory of mine. If they did not start cloning Biden until recently, the law of thermodynamics says that each time they do this, each time they make a clone, it breaks down a little bit more. So if they didn't start it until he was already a little bit, mentally deficit, every time they make a clone, it's going to get worse.
Right. It kind of brings me back to that football game. I don't know if we should mention his name. I mean, when he died twice on the field and came back, and some things were pretty off when he came to him. Notably his tattoos, his earlobes, mannerisms.
Yeah, for him to be, it was the Buffalo Bills player. Yeah, he did. He died on the field. When we saw him again, you would think that he would want, for people to see him. I mean, he's a public figure. He has a lot of fans. He would have wanted, but he had his face covered, glasses on, and he wasn't, he was seen, but he wasn't seen until we saw him at the Super Bowl, and the tattoos were wrong.
Yeah.
It's crazy how they, I mean, that's not crazy, but they put it out there, but nobody really, they'll look at you and say, you're just crazy for thinking that. But it's like, it makes no sense. Like you said, he's got on these weird jackets, like 2 of them, has sunglasses and a mask and gloves. Yeah. It's like, why are you wearing all that? What's the point of wearing that?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. He was definitely, it was interesting. So I do want to go into a topic of chimeras. And I think this goes right along with this topic because these were the things that, again, walked the earth in the times of Noah. And chimeras are a whole interesting topic. Did you guys know that a pig is a chimera?
So I have been told,
So you've
which
been
sucks
told.
because bacon is everything.
Well, did you know that that's pretty funny? Bacon is everything. Here, let me pull this up. So, pigs. Okay. So pigs are chimeras. They are uh, 90, the genetic DNA similarity between pigs and humans is 98%. That's why interspecies organ transplant activities between humans and pigs can even take place, because they can put a pig heart into a human and the chances of him rejecting it are very low. That is because we share 98% of the DNA with a pig. I personally, and we talked about this before we went on air, I personally believe that God did not create pigs. I believe that they were genetically modified through whatever it was they were doing before the flood.
They are a nasty looking animal, aren't they?
Exactly.
I mean, they eat their own. They eat slop.
Yep. Not only that, but when Jesus put the demons, it was in Matthew chapter 8, verse 24 through 34, when he says, Jesus asked the demon for his name, and he was told, my name is Legion, for we are many. The demons begged Jesus not to send them away, but instead to send them into pigs on a nearby hillside, which he does. The herd of about 2,000 in number rushed down the steep bank into the seas and were drowned. I personally don't believe that Jesus would have defiled a creation of his Father by putting demons in them if they were a creation of his Father.
Yeah, he wouldn't put it in a horse or a dog or anything like that. He put it in a pig.
He put it in a pig, exactly.
Which is unclean, and there's a reason in the Old Testament it says, these certain animals are unclean meat or unclean fish that you're not supposed to eat. And I've always felt like, because, and it may be because of your point about the chimeras, but I've always felt like the demons could possess these animals or interchange with them. So I always thought that. So it's funny that you should say that, but I think it's not just the pigs. I think it's all the unclean animals in the Old Testament.
Yeah. And the Bible tells us that you cannot make clean things or unclean things clean. It said, did God, I'm going to give credit where credit is due, 50 Shades of Pissed Off. Her name is Laurel Glaze. She's a friend of mine over on Facebook. Her and I, we caused a big uproar on Facebook about 3 years ago by putting this information out. She took all the information that her and I found and put it in this website. And I will give you guys the link. But it says, did God declare some food unclean because it was created by the Watchers via genetic tampering? Where it says, you know what my friend Marcus Kaiser told me recently that I can't get out of my head? The pigs are actually boar-human hybrids from the days of the Watcher messing with genetics. It's funny that Marcus would say that to her. Marcus Kaiser is someone I respect immensely. Always thought he was really intelligent, so to have someone like him tell me this gave me pause. So I asked Marcus how he knew these pigs were part human, and this is how he responded. Anybody that knows Marcus Kaiser will know that he is somebody who I too respect. So when he puts out something like this, so this is what he says.
He's one of my favorite people, by the way.
Mine too. Initial source is Dr. Bill Deagle, and confirmation is from various research and internal Holy Spirit confirmation. Why do you think they have kids practice biology on pig fetuses? Because their organs are so much like human organs. Why do you think that many pig organs can be transplanted into humans, but no other kind of creature would work? You also know that in the Book of the Giants that tells genetic hibernation and corruption. This is also how all the dinosaurs were made, genetic splicing by Watchers. Why are we so fascinated, especially as kids, with dinosaurs? It's because we recognize them as somehow foreign. Why is the T-Rex always debated? More like a bird? No, more like a lizard. Because the answer is yes, it's both. The giants needed massive food and engineered gigantic creatures that the environment, atmosphere, radiation, magnetics, and other earth factors would work with to be food for them. You can cross a lion and a tiger, get a liger. You can get a beast that is much larger than either a tiger or lion. There is something that happens from the cross species mixing that creates giant-sized beings, both when mixing humans with fallen angels and when mixing the animals, fish, etc. with life forms. And it goes along with this. Look at the size of the Minotaur. You guys, it was huge, right? All of these things were huge that they manipulated, that they created.
Yeah. Even if you look at the Sphinx is a human lion bird.
Right. Right.
Or the griffin is a half eagle, half lion hybrid.
This picture right here, you know whose house this was in? And a lot of people have seen it lately. It's been around the internet for a couple of years, but specifically the last couple of weeks, I've seen this a lot. You want to know where this painting, this picture came from? Podesta's house.
Sure. I don't think it's a painting.
It's a sculpture, but it's from Podesta's house.
Yeah, John Podesta, the same guy that has the number 14 and a fish on each hand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So she goes on and she says, then I got thinking, in the beginning of Genesis, God tells Adam and Eve that they can eat any plant and animal. Any animals that lives and breathes is good to eat. Genesis 9:3, every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. I have given you all things, even as the green herbs. Genesis 1:29, God said, I have given you every plant with seeds on the face of the earth and every tree that has fruit with seeds. This will be your food. Genesis 1:30. And to all the beasts of the earth and all the birds in the sky and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has the breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. So in the beginning, before the watchers began mating with every living thing, the Bible appears to call all food clean. But then later, after the incursion of the fallen angels, who according to Enoch corrupted humans, animals, and even plants, suddenly there was food and plants that shouldn't be eaten or used, pork being one of them. Anything with a cloven hoof is unclean unless it chews its cud. Now, what do we know has a cloven hoof? Doesn't Satan, isn't he depicted with a cloven hoof?
Yep.
You're talking about Baphomet, right?
Baphomet, yeah. She says, I've been looking into it and studying the Bible verses, looking at the animals that were later declared by God to be unclean and not fit to eat. And I'm almost positive now that this is possible because their genetics have been messed with. They were not created by God. Leviticus, he clearly calls them abominations. In Deuteronomy, he says that they are disgusting to the Lord. Why would his own creation be disgusting to him?
Yep.
Also, someone mentioned to me that in the Bible, the only time the word flesh is used is in relation to men or pigs. Isaiah 65:4, which remain among the grave, the lodge, and the monuments, which eat swine's flesh and broth of abominable things in their vessels. I have not looked into this myself, but it definitely is something to research. Another friend told me that one of the reasons pork is forbidden is that it's difficult to digest to distinguish from human meat, which means slaughtered humans can very easily be used for food and passed off as pork. She's talking about me. This is the information that I gave her. The Illuminati, the elite, those people that rule this world will tell you human flesh tastes like pork. That's why they call it long pork or long pig. Also, pigs are extremely smart but also extremely filthy animals. A pig farm is a great way to get rid of dead bodies. They'll even eat each other if there's nothing else to eat. And then it goes on and it shows what clean animals, what we're not supposed to eat. But then I'll put this
shrimp. Oh, don't be showing that shrimp. That's gonna make lots of bad.
I love my but she goes on, fantastic information here, but I always got the impression with pig that they were a chimera, because there's no way, I don't see Jesus defiling one of his father's creations with demons.
You don't see it because it never happened.
Yeah, he never would. He wouldn't defile a creation like that. Yeah. And the fact that, where is it? Give me a second. Oh, I lost it. Hold on a minute.
In the Jurassic World movies, and basically all the Jurassic Park movies are about like genes and like genetic mutations and like bringing stuff from the dead, genetically cloning, things like that. In the Jurassic World movies, they made something called the Indominus Rex. And then in the movie after that, they made something called the Indoraptor. And basically what it was a bunch of different reptiles and dinosaurs and stuff like that combined into one like super predator. And what's crazy about it is that they were going to sell it. They had it like they were auctioning it, and it had like this technology like collar on it that if it activated this red dot, it could pretty much attack whoever the red dot like activated on. So it was almost like a military weapon. And of course, the Russians were trying to buy it in the movie.
Right.
It was just like a giant auction of like different people from like militaries and stuff trying to buy the creature. So it's like, I definitely think that these creatures are being made and like being sold around the world for like militaries and stuff like that.
Wow.
Because you gotta think about how quickly like a raptor hybrid could clear a house. No soldiers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and Jurassic Park is another where they weren't they manipulating the DNA of these or bringing these creatures back from extinction?
Yep, they would literally use the blood from ancient mosquitoes that were inside of embers or like amber, I think it was, and they would pretty much create the whole thing. But they'd have to use the genetics of lizards that were already alive to bring them back, like frogs and geckos and iguanas and Komodo dragon, stuff like that.
Well, they bring it back to woolly mammoth. They said it's supposed to be done within the next year or so.
What could possibly go wrong?
There's probably already woolly mammoths alive on the planet, to be honest.
Anything.
I said in chat about eating things that are unclean, especially when it comes to pork, that whether you're a vegetarian or vegan or somebody who's trying to stay away from pork, nowadays it's extremely hard to do so because there's so many products that we purchase contain pork. Like if you eat Jell-O, you're eating pork. Oh, you try to stay away from sausage, you like chicken sausage or beef sausage, you're still eating pork because guess what it's made into? A casing, which comes from a pork intestine. There's many other examples to choose from. So we're all accustomed to the system of eating pork. And I try to explain that to, my vegetarian and vegan brothers and sisters that there is no physical way that you can abstain from eating any type of meat products because it's embedded in our food. And there, lo and behold.
Wine. Gelatin, a product derived from pig body parts, is used in many wine purification processes. Baked goods, cysteine is used in making baking goods such as bread to create a more extendable dough with improved pan flow. It's often synthesized from hair, such as pig's bristles. Cereal, many cereals are sugar coated, which can also contain gelatin. Yogurt, gelatin is used in many products, especially in the low calorie variety. Fruit gum, again, gelatin. Chewing gum, cyric acid is used in many chewing gums. It is obtained from animal fats, mostly from pig stomachs. Instant soup, some seasonings and soups contain traces of bacon. Cream cheese, gelatin is a thickener. Chips, bacon flavor. Juice for purification of some juices, especially multivitamin juice, gelatin is used. Um, let's see. What else? Yeah, just do a list of pork, foods that contain pork. And, you know, pork is the only meat where we can get parasite diseases, um, roundworm. Um, I stopped eating it a long time.
Yeah, there's also a parasite called liver fluke that'll give you basically the symptoms of diabetes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what? Ann and I, we talked about that cleanse the other night, Sunday night. I had her on and we talked about cleansing the body of flukes and of the parasites. Yeah.
Yep.
I actually did that cleanse last night at 10 at night on the full moon, and at 10 o'clock this morning again on the which is close to the full moon since it's only 10 hours later. And yeah, I just did that. So you do it every full moon.
What do you use? Turpentine?
Yeah, and I made a video and it was just horrible because I was gagging and everything. It's funny as hell though. But I tried a different approach this time, and I just took it and I looked at the sugar cubes, which are really difficult to chew and prolonged agony, and it's just torture. And I looked at it and it said pure sugar cane. So I went and looked at the sugar in my freezer and it said pure sugar cane. So I just took 5 tablespoons, put in there, put about 5 droppers of that spirit oil in it, stirred it up, and then added some lemon juice, stirred it up real good to like dissolve, put it in a shot glass, took a big old shot like I would have shot of tequila or something, and it wasn't nothing. I didn't gag or anything. It was awesome. I just made sure I was really good fasted this time because I wanted to make sure that they didn't have anything to eat but that sugar, and I was going to unalive them. Okay, and I got rid of them last month when I did it, you know. But I want to make sure they didn't have any babies or something.
Yeah. It just gives me the willies to think that, not only are they infesting our food with these things. Do you guys know what the one food that is the most geoengineered is? There's one that's above all other foods, and that's soy. And that's why people will tell you soy is not meant for human consumption.
That's what we don't even like to eat any of that stuff, y'all. Like I guess it's so different from y'all up in the north. When I was listening to y'all talking about the food, and I think that John could probably concur with what I'm saying. I think the meat's a little bit different here in Texas. We buy from the local butchers. All my neighbors got cows. I grow most of my own vegetables, or go to the farmer's market. I live right beside the honey farm. And use just all natural stuff like baking soda for laundry and everything else. And I don't know, it's just different. It's a lot different with your food that you're talking about. Everything. I mean, I try not to get a lot of processed food. I'm getting better and better and better about not eating it. But like that fake food, ew, that's just creeping me out. We are talking about, ew, God, it's horrible. I can't even stand.
Yeah, everything
I
processed
don't
really
hardly
sucks
eat meat.
now.
I don't hardly eat meat anymore. Ever since I got COVID, I have never. I just don't have a taste for meat. I'm pretty much almost a vegetarian now because I just can't. But I just can't say that because I'm a Texan,
I was
and
just
that
going
is
to say you're a Texan.
un-Texan. I would never be a vegetarian, but I could be honest with you. I can't eat my meat. It just doesn't taste right to me.
Man, she's
And
going to lose her. She's a card carrying Texan. You're going to lose that card, Missy.
now I'm telling you what, man. I don't care if I like it or not. If you throw a big old well done ribeye and some A1 and Heinz 57 sauce in my way, I'm willing to eat every damn bite of it. But I don't like meat. I did. I do not, and always stayed by the. I pretty much have always stayed with unclean, not eating the unclean foods. With the shrimp, with the bacon. I've never believed that it was, and I know people get mad at me, whatever. I don't believe with every Christian about the theology. Okay, I just don't. I believe what I believe, and I don't care what anybody else believes. But the way that I was going to raise myself and my children is how I believe, and I don't care if the whole world stands against me because I don't give a damn. Okay, I read the Bible, and my interpretation is that uh, the dream that Cornelius had on the rooftop, or Peter had on the rooftop about the pork, had nothing to do with pork. It was a metaphor. I don't want to get into this tonight because I'm too tired, but it was a metaphor about the Gentiles coming into the kingdom of God, because at that time only the Israelites were allowed into that. Okay, so nobody reads the whole chapter. So I still think that the unclean foods are really bad for you. So I didn't let my kids eat pork or shrimp. We use shrimp for fishing, but now, as you know, I have relapsed on that a few times in my life. And every time I do, I get an upset stomach. And I do agree that bacon, I did relapse on that and ate it. One time my daughter cooked it and I smelled it. And I was like, oh my God, you know, and I ate the whole pan. She got so mad at me. But I try not to eat. I try not to eat it. Okay, I try not to eat, and it is good. It is good, but I try not to ever eat pork if I don't have to ever.
I can't eat it.
It just grosses me out because I
It
think it's
upsets my
flesh.
stomach when I eat it.
Yeah,
It
And I
sucks
love
I
it.
can't.
growing up. If
The same
growing
as
up in
human
South
flesh.
Louisiana, I mean, you don't have to eat it, but that's kind of like all they got to eat. I mean,
How do you
Smothered.
know it's pork when you buy it at these chain grocery stores? I look at that.
Well,
I go
no, I
shopping.
mean,
I'm
I'm gonna
going
be
down
honest.
Walmart. I
When
look at
I
that stuff.
grew
I'm
up,
thinking, what if that's a human? How do I even know that's a ham? I
you
mean,
know,
I'm paranoid. Okay, I'm paranoid.
when you
Nobody.
like people that I grew up with and knew, like including my family, we get a pig, and then that'd be your your spring pig, and then you bring it to the slaughterhouse, which is privately owned, and then you get it dressed. I mean, it's whether you bring a calf, a pig, whatever, a deer, if you get a deer, so you get back what you bring. It's your animal. But I never, obviously I wasn't grown up as a believer anyways, but you can't beat a smothered pork chop, that's cooked down with, what they call the Holy Trinity, which is celery, bell pepper, and onion.
Right.
But I mean, it's hard. And plus, like shrimp, I mean, you grow up on the Gulf Coast, you eat crawfish, you eat shrimp.
Oh, I go
Crab,
down when we go down to Louisiana. We go down to Lake Bistineau, and that's the first thing when I go down there. And Robbie used to yell at me all the time when I would go down there because the first thing I would do is I would have to go get my catfish with my pontchartrain sauce. And he would just yell at, "You're not supposed to be eating catfish."
It
See, we
sucks. I mean,
process the wild
that's where you
hogs.
grew up.
When I kill them, we process those, but we drain all the blood out, and then we grind it up with bacon ends and pieces from HEB and put it in casings and make sausage out of it. But I still don't really care. I don't eat them, but we'll always have them, because I hunt. I'm not going to waste my food. I like to hunt. So somebody else can eat them.
Well, I mean, we look at it like this too. Me being a big seafood guy, I mean, I pretty much would eat anything seafood related except for oysters or any like those types of things. They're nasty looking to me. But I mean, it's kind of hard though, because some stuff I grew up on. I mean, my mother grew up with a mother that was born and raised in the deep south, and me having a lot of Cajun influence in my family tree. It's like it's part of who we are, and breaking free from that, I mean, it is hard. But we know what the Bible says, and those of us who want to follow Christ and do what we are told, and as it's explained in the Bible, that you have to give up some of this stuff. Now, I'll eat you out of house and home when it comes to fish, though. Don't touch me on fish. I'll eat fish all kinds of ways from sun up to sundown. I mean, we that type of selfish, man. I mean, sometimes I relapse too. I mean, I'll eat some shrimp and lobster on occasion, but I gotta give that up, man.
Yeah,
I talk about bacon all the time too.
They don't know what causes degenerative diseases. Like the T word, which I think is parasite, but I also think it's from unclean foods. I just think it's unhealthy for your body. And I always said, hey, God said don't eat that, and Ford said they made the car and don't run it on Karo syrup. You wouldn't run the car on Karo syrup, So I don't think it's so much as being in defiance. It's not going to matter where your soul goes. It's not going to define who you are as a person. Obviously that's clearly stated, but I do think that it deteriorates your health. I believe that. I truly do.
Well,
and I'm pretty healthy for 57. I don't even look 57. Everybody thinks I'm like 40.
but the problem with
So,
it is,
there's something to that.
But the problem with it is that without us knowing it, and then putting things into our foods, Satan knows that there's really one abomination above all others, and that's the eating of human flesh, cannibalism. And I think that they're trying to make us cannibalistic without our knowledge. I'm not going to get into the whole McDonald's things, but Rabbi Fleckenstein exposed McDonald's a number of years ago. They did DNA testing and they found human DNA in the hamburgers and stuff. And so putting that into our food creates a cannibalistic
I think it changes our genes, so that makes us like the days of Noah.
Right. It's a cannibalistic urge. If kids, when they start eating McDonald's hamburgers, they get that urge. They that's all they'll eat. All they eat is McDonald's hamburger.
Oh, you're right about that.
Yeah. So I mean, they're trying to make us cannibals. One bite at a time. Cinnamix is in so many of our foods, and that's made from aborted baby fetuses' kidney cells. It's supposed to be for a flavoring. No, just stop. That stuff's not supposed to be happening. And again, as in the days of Noah, I'm sure that stuff was happening then. Cannibalistic. They were eating their children. The Bible even warns us about it.
When I was talking about the Wendy's that go, because I'm not saying that name, there's a psychological disorder, and the people watching this video can look this up, called Wendy psychosis, which is an uncontrollable cannibalistic hunger. And basically, for the people who don't know what the Wendy's are, if you live in like Appalachia or like the Appalachians, you know what these are. If you live by like certain national parks and you're always in there, you know what these are. They're basically, a lot of depictions of them have antlers, but apparently they don't. But it originates from native folklore, as most of these like things do, until we find out that they aren't just folklore; they're literally like real. It's basically an animalistic humanoid-looking thing with rotting flesh that gets people to try to like cannibalize each other. And then if you apparently, at least what the belief is, if you cannibalize someone with that spirit on you, you become one of them, basically.
Yeah. And again, these are unclean spirits that are carried over from before the flood.
Yep.
Yeah. Anybody else have any videos or anything you want me to show?
No, but I heard of something on YouTube, and I haven't had a chance to investigate it yet. But it's kind of along the lines of what y'all are talking about, because they were talking about Jacob and Esau, and I never thought about this before until I heard it, and it really blew my mind. And they were actually, how Esau was all hairy and everything, and I think it was Esau that was the hairy one who was all hairy. And they were saying that, was he a cryptid?
And
that like a Sasquatch?
Yeah, it's kind of trippy when you think about it, because he was all hairy, right?
That's quite interesting. Yeah.
Well, there are tribes in the Amazon that are covering hair that are known about.
Yeah. I just a thought just popped into my head. Now that the World Health Organization and all these people are pushing for us to start eating bugs and putting these bugs into our foods, does anybody know if these bugs are clean or unclean?
I know John the Baptist was eating like grasshoppers or something. So
Right.
I don't know.
Locusts and honey.
Oh, like lotus. Oh, or locust. Okay.
But how easy would it be? I mean, to these meat substitutes, and to put these these altered genetic modified DNA spliced whatever it is.
100%. When that's their plan, like you said before, if any kind of like cannibalistic deal, like you don't know what they're making, a synthetic meat. What the hell is it?
No, you don't know. Absolutely.
But it's like, but they're slaughtering cows. They tried it with the whole mad cow disease phenomenon years and years ago. Like that was their first plan to get rid of the world's protein, because you can't, you can control population if they can't have any kind of protein. And then now it's the same thing. They're blaming that the cows are, farting and it's causing global warming, so they have to slaughter them. There's nothing else you can do.
Human mad cow would be equivalent to zombies. The zombie.
Yeah, it was the same thing. If you ate human meat, you get like holes in your brain or whatever. Well, that mad cow did the same thing to humans.
Right. Exactly.
One of the things that people can be doing now, since there's such a question about our food, is, and I guess everyone always knew about this, but I didn't. I only just learned about this in the past year, and that's microgreens. Well, I didn't even know that you could use the microgreens as actual seeds outside until 2 days ago. All right. But I had ordered like 175,000 microgreens. I ordered like thousands of microgreens, because you can grow these indefinitely inside, and it only takes a few days to grow them, and they're super, super healthy. And it takes just a tiny bit of water to do it. So like, say shit hit the fan and you were stuck in your home, you could survive indefinitely on just a very, very little bit of water in these microgreens. But then yesterday I learned that you could take the microgreens and actually use them as seeds and plant them. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I've been going out in my back pasture and doing this chaos planting, where you just throw these seeds out and plant different seeds. I've got lentils and sunflower seeds. I've got moringa trees. I'm fixing to go out and do just all kinds of vegetables, toss them out there, a whole back acre and a half. And even if I don't pick them, or watermelons, cantaloupes, everything, even if I don't pick them or something, at least the animals will have a place to go now that there's so many, no offense to y'all Yankees, but since y'all are all moving here, there's hardly no country here left. They're taking over. No, I'm serious. I mean, there's subdivisions popping up out here in the country, less than a mile from my house, like everywhere. And so I'm just concerned about the food. So that's the kind of stuff that we're doing. Like tonight, I'm going to put on some bread. And because I'm giving up that bread, the bread tastes like cardboard and it's creeping me out. I cannot stand it. I can't eat another piece of that crappy ass bread again. Okay. So I have tried every brand and something's wrong with the bread. Okay. It just tastes like it's horrible. So I'm starting to make my own fresh bread. I'm done with the bread. I'm done with the canned vegetables. I've just planted another fig tree. I've got about 30 fig trees germinating right now. I've got plum trees out here. I'm done with this. I'm done with the system, done with it. I'm serious. I'm fixing to get some more animals. I'm going to get some goats. I'm done. Rabbits and chicken and meat chickens. Meat chickens take 7 weeks to grow to full grown term. You can buy 50 meat chickens for $100 or $120, and then take them, and in 7 weeks they're fully grown, and chop them up, and you got 100 full grown meat chickens in your freezer. So you had to share this with your relatives and your neighbors, because that's a lot of meat, for a little bit of money.
Well, unfortunately, I live in the city, so I can't invest in that many chickens, even though me and my wife would love to have chickens, because we're egg lovers over here.
Yeah, I got keep them in your house, Ernie.
Yeah.
Huh?
Keep them in your house.
In the house?
No, did that last winter, Ernie. Don't do it. They were in my bathtub for my incubator. It was horrible. My whole house.
She had them in her bathtub. It was
Don't do it. Don't. I had out of 7 chickens. I had 6 roosters. Don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah, it's bad.
Hero's got cats and chickens and whatever else he got living in his house.
No, I don't.
Hero looks civilized on TikTok. I wouldn't have thought he had chickens in his house.
No, he did. No, I'm kidding.
I know. My coffee's kicking in now, y'all, and the show's almost over. Damn it.
Oh, we got an after show coming up, so.
People don't understand that when they say days of Noah, things were horrible then. They were so bad. People were starving to death. There was no food. The giants ate all the food. They devoured all the food. They devoured the big animals that were genetically made. They ate everything that could be ate, and then they turned and started devouring the people.
Yep.
So our biggest fear and the things that we may be looking towards, if it really says the day of Noah, might not be about us eating bugs. Might be about us being the food. Okay. So in the days of Noah, there were giants in those days. Okay.
Well,
And I think that's something that we really should think about.
Here's
If
the thing
there
about
is
the
perhaps
giants, though. Oh, go ahead, Ernie.
Perhaps the reason why we're eating the bugs is they're gonna release the Nephilim on this earth to consume all the food, but
Yeah,
want to
exactly.
keep a
And the
portion of
plant.
us alive so they can start eating us.
Did y'all notice that on the phones now, when you take a picture of a plant, it offers you a plant ID so you can see if it's an edible plant or not?
Yeah,
I was like,
they said
oh
that.
my God, they're going to starve us to death. I knew it was the end of the world when I saw that.
Oh, that's for sure. The plan for the United States is to control the food and the water
Control the food and water, control the people.
easily.
But I'm trying to use that against them. So
Starvation is a great motivator.
I went out in my yard and just started looking at all these plants out there. And my husband's he's going psycho because I won't let him mow right now. Okay. It's like a half-inch tall and he's having an aneurysm, but I said, not right now. So I finished. Well, I found this one plant. It's called henbit and it's everywhere. Well, come to find out it's super good food for you. It has all these vitamins. Every part of it's edible. My chickens can eat it, blah, blah, blah. So I got this thought. I was like, you know what? I wonder if I just dry it. I have a dehydrator, a badass one. I never used it, but I paid a lot of money for it. And it just sits here, looks pretty. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just dry those out and save them. And because if shit hits the fan and we're starving to death, I could reconstitute that, and maybe it won't taste good or whatever, but it's still edible, and it's better than a bug.
Throw the powdered in some powdered eggs, and make it.
And so we could actually take. I've got like 1 million dandelions out in my yard. Like today, I picked a whole giant basket of dandelions for my chickens, right? And so I was thinking about that today. I was like, I've always taken them. I'm making the tinctures and everything, but I never dehydrate them or dry them. And I was like, I'm going to start doing that. So
you should, yeah.
Because I don't have nothing else to do,
That's right. You don't. You don't. Ernie, you wanted to wrap things up, and then we'll go around and do final thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. This topic is pretty fitting for the sermon that I preached a couple of weeks ago, and I just wanted to just talk a little bit about what I said in my sermon. And the way I like to do my sermons is I like to preach obviously from the Bible, the whole word, and read the chapter that I'm discussing on, and I like to implement applications on how we can apply it to our daily life, and it's stuff to look out for in the coming days too. As we discussed in this broadcast here tonight, we discussed how the days of Noah was shaped out to be, and the signs of those days in today's society, and what the elites are doing, what the synagogue of Satan is doing, what the principalities and spiritual forces and high places are doing. And all signs point to the end of the age. When we look at the Bible, it talks about how in the last days it will be similar to what Noah experienced. Luke chapter 17 verses 26 and 30 states that, and as it was the days of Noah, so shall be in the days of the Son of Man, that they eat, they drank, they married wives, they were giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise, also it was in the days of Lot, that they'd eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they builded. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even thus shall be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. So when we look at those verses there, Bible clearly depicts what will happen if man continues to fall away from the word of God, continue to live in sin, transgress the word of God, disobey the laws that God has commanded us to do, and just completely turn our backs against him and be in covenant with Satan and his rule over this earth. So the question remains, how can we apply what we have learned tonight to our daily lives? But the first thing you got to know is God will pour out his judgment on those who transgressed him. I mean, look at the signs. Luke 21 verse 25, and they shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and upon the earth, the stress of nations were perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. Isaiah 13, verses 10 and 11 also states that I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. For the stars in heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. There is going to be a huge judgment coming from those who have transgressed God, who committed these sinful and abominations that God describes as filth. But the nice thing about it is God has provided a way for us to be saved. Warren Wisby, in his biblical commentary, states that to be saved from God's wrath is to be saved by God's grace. By faith, Noah, being warned of God of all things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith. He goes on to say that to understand God's truth but not act upon it is not biblical faith. It's only intellectual assent to religious truth. To be emotionally aroused without comprehending God's message isn't faith, because true faith is based on an understanding of the truth. What we presented here tonight, guys, is the truth. These things will come to pass once again. It has already started happening. We have seen it. We have witnessed it. We have experienced it. Look at the pigs and what that dire beast has reigned its terror over our eating habits in society, especially here in the West. You have to ask yourself, why is there so many countries in the world that do not eat pork?
Right.
All religions come from the same place, which is the inherent word of God, but they put their own demonic spirit on it, but kept some of the same true beliefs. Pork is bad for you guys. And the next thing that we know is use Noah's example of where righteousness can lead you. If we look at 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 20 and 21, it states that now we are ambassadors for Christ, as though God did beseech you by us. We pray you in Christ's stead, be ye reconciled to God, for he hath made him to be sin for us, who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of God in him. The Most High God wants us to turn from our sinful ways and come back home so we won't suffer the fate of Lot's wife in Sodom and Gomorrah, to those who have turned their backs on God in the days of Noah, to what we're experiencing right now, to being engaging in abominations of intercourse and eating of filthy animals and beasts of the earth that is not created by the Most High God. 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14 establishes further, if my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. But we know as we're living in the last days, the time for healing is far gone. We live in the fallen world, ladies and gentlemen. We are living in an era where sin becomes good and good becomes sin in this culture. It is wicked to portray the truth. It is wicked to bring forth the light into the to a dark world. And people are attacking Christians left and right. You have to ask yourselves, why is that? Christianity is the only religion being attacked. Every other known religion on this earth is held with open arms, telling each other to coexist. But soon as the name of the Lord Jesus Christ comes out of the mouths of his people, they are persecuted. But despite this, leads me to my next point. God has provided us with everlasting life to save us from a fallen world. John 3:16, verses 16 through 18 states that for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but had everlasting life. For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. He that believeth on him is not condemned, but he that believeth not is condemned already, because he have not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God. We must turn to Jesus. The time is now. There is the hour is over with. We're in the last few seconds of the hour. You have to make a choice and take a stand on what side you want to choose, whether you want to be everlasting life or temporarily live through the ways of this world. The choice is up to you.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We're going to go around the panel and get some final thoughts, starting with Big John.
I think we're in the majority of us, well, not us ourselves as we know what's going on, but I think the majority of people, we're in a two-part play. The first part is over with. That was the flood and all this stuff that happened. And most of us have come in during intermission, and now we're in part two, obviously not knowing what happened in part one, but a few people do know that are in charge of it. So whatever you see taking place in reality, when the first time you notice that they're making an agenda out of nothing, that was something in ancient times.
Right.
And they're bringing it back. They're getting you ready, or it's a laughable prank to them. But the Luciferians are just bringing back what was before the flood, known as a golden age of man. And once you can recognize it, and obviously what Ernie said, know Jesus through it, then you'll survive it.
Exactly. Final thoughts, Hero?
So I can't remember if this was in the Apocrypha or the actual Bible, one of the removed texts or what, but in the Bible, in like one of these biblical texts, God says something along the lines of, henceforth I bring Nephilim upon the earth to fulfill my wrath. So what I hear when he says like that, obviously I'm paraphrasing, but he's basically saying that the Nephilim are almost there to fulfill his wrath. So pretty much, I think they're only going to be attacking like the evildoers. I think the people that probably released them from whatever labs that they're testing on them on or whatever, they're probably going to turn on them once they get released. And I think that it's going to leave like the good people and the believers to pretty much take over the world after all these guys have been eradicated, if you will. Because like the thing about like Luciferianism and all that type of stuff is it always ends up backfiring for them in the end.
Yeah, it does.
Like every time, even like I'm starting to like kind of blank right now. But there was a book where someone was like I think it was like Dr. Faustus or something like that.
The real Dr. Fauci?
No, it was like he was like some sort of like scientist, and he got like a lot of his information from like Satan or something. And his lab ended up exploding and killing him. I'm kind of blanking what that was, but
Jack Parsons.
Yeah, Jack Parsons. Yeah, his lab blew up. Yeah,
that might have been him then. But yeah, the thing like, and here's what I believe. I think a lot of like quote unquote elites, if you want to call them, are gonna wake up to like what like pretty much what they did and try to like go against that. I don't think all of them are gonna like stick with the plan and be like pure evil. I can't see that happening once they start realizing that they made a mistake.
In the protocols of the Learned Adult of Zion, in Protocol 15, they pretty much lay it out that even the people that think that there's somebody in the last days are expendable, and they are being used, and they will be turned on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to get pretty bad for a lot of people, especially if you're in those labs. You know?
Yeah, it's going to be kind of crazy.
Exactly. And final thoughts.
Very interesting show, and I love the topic. It was a great panel that you had on here tonight, and I appreciate y'all having me on. I can't wait to come back.
Okay, not a problem. We'll have you back again. That's for darn sure. Get you talking a little bit, and I know you forget that you're on here with us, but Yeah. So we're going to open up the panel just for a short period of time, maybe about 30 minutes, if anybody's interested in coming up on the panel for our after show. What that consists of is I'm going to drop a link in the chat room right now. What you're going to do is you're going to click on that link. You're going to allow your camera and your microphone to be used by StreamYard. It will not put anything into your computer, will not put anything into your phone. If you're using an iPhone, you will need to go over and you will need to use Safari. So you're going to click on that link. It's going to tell you to copy it, take it into Safari, drop it in there, and then you can do that as well. And you more than happy to join us. As soon as we drop the live, we're going to just continue talking, conversing with each other. You're more than welcome to come up on the panel. So I did drop that link. I want to thank everybody in our chat room. I want to thank everybody in our panel. I want to thank all of the moderators for joining us tonight. We will be back again this week. I'm not sure which day. Trying to pick up on getting back on schedule. A lot of people have been asking me why we haven't monetized the channel, and I think I've gone over there and I told you guys that YouTube will not let us monetize the channel because we give out quote unquote dangerous information. But I did find a program that an app that I am creating right now. It's called buymeacoffee.com. I'm going to be setting that up for our channel, and I will let you guys know in a future broadcast, when we're going to make that go live. So just wanted to put that out there for you guys. Yeah. So thank you everybody for joining us. Ernie, you want to take us out?
I thought I did already.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
But that's
no, you're right. I'm so used to saying
that's
that.
okay.
So I do want to thank
That's
again
all right.
everybody. You want to? Okay, go ahead.
Just remember, guys, the stuff that we presented here tonight is not to instill fear. 2 Timothy 1:7 states that for the God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And we gotta take that to heart, guys. The stuff that we presented to you tonight is stuff that's happening right now in this world today, even though it was written thousands of years ago. So, I mean, take that to heart, do your research, study all things, show thyself approved. And remember, as we come upon the last days, there's going to be some things that make your head spin, make your heart grow cold, but rely on the Lord, for he will bring you out of this. Until next time, guys, remember, eyes open, no fear. Good night, everyone.
Good night.